Hey, everybody. We are back for another Tuesday night MLB Main Slate breakdown. My name is Jason over at Paydirt DFS. We're going to take a look at this gigantic slate we have tonight. Could be a little overwhelming. So I'm excited to dive in and, really just pumped to break this down. I think we have a lot of really good low end pitching options. We have some great high end pitching options. There's no shortage of pitching really on this slate. So let's go see if we can maybe find a way to, decipher where we need to go. So first and foremost, we're going to start always here at pitching. James is going to be in the middle of an update right now, so you're going to see these projections change a little bit. But starting at the top, our highest projected pitcher today is Nick Pivetta, 9,800. Nick Pivetta, at this price, it's interesting, right? Like if he was in a spot against a team that is a perceived tough matchup, like Arizona, you may look at this and say, wow, he's a little expensive. But if he was going up against a team like the White Sox or, the Pittsburgh Pirates, you'd be sitting there going, wow, okay, he maybe is a little cheap here for the upside. Me personally, 9,800, I'm not going to pay this tag for Nick Pivetta against Arizona. He's in a pitcher's park, so I think I like that a lot for his, him getting absolutely killed. But I just don't really love picking on this offense. Looking at how they've been over the last 30 days, I'm going to go over to Fangraphs. So last 30 days, Arizona, top 10 team, WRC plus against the handedness, 22.6% K percentage, which is, in the upper half. So they're striking out a little bit more than average. A lot of power, though, close to almost a 200 team ISO. And now Corbin Carroll has been back. I just don't really know if I really want to pick on them there. Last 14 days, too, in the more recent sample, they have been a little bit worse and strike out a little bit more. So if you are a believer that maybe they are trending in the wrong direction, maybe you pick on them tonight. Me personally, I'm not going to do it. I don't think he's a bad play. He's really low owned, and I think it's a good slate to take a shot on him. But I would reserve him only for large field MME. You're in the flagship. You're in a 20 entry max, something like that. Definitely think that's the most that you do with him. So after that, we do have Hunter Brown here at 1,100. Hunter Brown is probably where you're going to start your cash game builds if you're going to pay up anywhere today. And Brian Bello too for Boston. But with Hunter Brown, he's going up against the Cleveland Guardians, and they've been a little bit of a lifeless offense over the last few weeks, I guess you could say. Even looking at them here, you think about them as a team that has a bunch of lefties, right? And like you think that, wow, they must be really, really good. But a lot of their hitters are great from the left side of the plate. Well, 23.1% K percentage over the last 14 days, 60 weighted runs created plus, not a lot of power. They are bottom three against right-handed pitching in the entire league over the last 14 days. When we look at it in a 30-day sample, they're dead last with a higher strikeout rate. So all in all, Hunter Brown today, pitching in Houston, it does really play up right-handed power. It's a little bit easier for righties to really realize their upside there. A little bit more real estate out to right field for the lefties. I think Hunter Brown today, I know we haven't projected at 20.8. I think his ceiling here is actually real. He could have one of those days where he goes, 3 hits, no earned runs, and 10 Ks today. And he may go, 7-8 innings. And if he does that, he's going to be a smash value. I do like him, though, at 1,100. I'm playing the 20 entry max to $4 today. So I don't know how much I'm going to get to him because I want to pay up for a lot of offenses. But he is somebody I am going to have in consideration. Then it's Sonny Gray. That game is pretty interesting from a weather standpoint. It looks like it's going to be really good now and fine, so I'm cool with attacking it. I'm going to have some really stark thoughts on that game later that we'll get to. But you want to play Sonny Gray, I don't hate it. Washington just doesn't strike out a lot versus right-handed pitching. They have some really strong lefties too. Even over the last 30-day sample here, Washington, while not great weighted runs created plus, they also have one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball against left-handed pitching. You look at them in the more recent sample, they're even getting a little bit better and they're still not really striking out. No power though. So I think Sonny Gray is fine. I just think that for the price that you're going to pay for him on this slate today, for the Ks that he may walk into, I don't know. Interesting to say the least. Jose Soriano, I'm going to have a bunch of this guy tonight against Texas. He just makes way too much sense. Texas over the most recent sample, They have been better as of late. I will give them that. So going back to this tab, I know I'm going back and forth, but Texas here, 100 weighted runs created plus over the last 14 days. ISO 133, not great. Seager's really starting to find his footing now, too. And, they're probably going to throw like 6 or 7 lefties at this guy. So, you know, maybe not great in that sense, but 22% K percentage, not a lot of power. That's really fine. Let's go look at the 30-day sample versus the 14. Over the 30-day sample, they're much better. So they're trending in the wrong direction too. So something to really consider here. I just think the risk of him being priced at that salary on this slate, it's really worth the gamble. I like that he's really low owned. I'm going to have a lot of him. Robbie Ray. So this is a guy that I've been going back and forth with all day long. So Robbie Ray, when he's on, he's, electric, right? Like I think if you've played MLB DFS for at least 5 years, you have definitely, you definitely have bought a ticket to the Robbie Ray experience. This guy can go out and put up 35, 40 points in a night, 12 Ks, no one can touch him. And then other nights, he can't fucking strike anybody out. He gives up all these home runs. The one thing about Robbie Ray tonight is that he's in his home ballpark. He is going up against Philadelphia. Philadelphia against lefties in the 30-day sample here have been actually pretty good. They're a top 11 team in baseball, not really striking out a ton. ISO kind of, middling, whatever. They did go up against the Houston lefties not too long ago, Colton Gordon and Framber Valdez, and they did have, really, really bad days there. And now they're in a much, much worse ballpark for hitting, arguably the worst on the entire league. And in the most recent sample, last 14 days, their K rate has gone up significantly. Their power stayed the same, and their weighted runs created plus has dropped significantly. Even when we go look at the plate attempts, too, they have a good sample size here compared to the rest of the league. So, it's really just what you want to. It's really, just the risk you want to take here. Robbie Ray at 15% ownership, I think that's totally fine. I might roll the dice on him. He has been giving up some power to righties, but in this park, outside of Trey Turner, like if you want to play, Trey Turner, there's Alec Bohm, there's Castellanos, like Johan Rojas. Like if these guys really, really scare you, then don't do it. But I do think Robbie Ray tonight, pretty good play. And going a step further, so these are our research sheets over at Paydirt DFS. So I have this sorted to look at Robbie Ray, how he is versus right-handed hitters. So 28% K rate in the sample, true average of 0.25, expected slugging below league average, expected batting average should be lower, and his expected home run for plate appearance is pretty low. So in terms of the slate, yeah, he's on the lower end. So that's pretty encouraging. When I go look at him versus lefties, because he is going to see Schwarber and he's going to see, he might see like a Brandon Marsh, maybe somebody like that. Let's go look at him here. So yeah, Robbie Ray, high K rate, 26%, walks some people, that's okay. All his markers here are very, very low. So the fact that he's in a pitcher's ballpark and he's going up against a team that really just hasn't been performing versus left-handed pitching, I'm very into him tonight. I actually think he's a pretty sick pivot off of Hunter Brown. I don't think you're really losing as much upside as you may think. He just has to avoid some of those bigger bats. Other pitchers that project, well, you have Logan Gilbert against the Yankees. No, thank you. Not interested. Nathan Eovaldi against the Angels. If he's only going to throw 75 pitches again, like I'm not touching him. And, LA seems to be, their offense is good enough. They hit DeGrom yesterday. I just don't think I want to pay that 10K today when I could just go play, if I want to play Sonny Gray, I want to play Robbie Ray. I'm good with that. And Seth Lugo. So this is an interesting guy today, Seth Lugo. He's a guy that I wanted to bring up. 8,800. He projects as a, slightly negative value here. I don't know. With a guy like Seth Lugo, he's had some really good performances, and he's done them against really good offenses too. And might not be the best offenses. Like I think Seattle outside of Raleigh, we probably all think is kind of mediocre. He did it against the Dodgers, who obviously, when they're on to the best team in baseball. San Diego, not great, but they don't strike out a ton. And he did it at Texas too. So he's had all these games on the road too, where he's just kind of gone and smashed. He's running pretty good. I definitely want to take a look at him more in our stuff and see. But I think if you're going to go up against Pittsburgh, I kind of think it's a really good spot. Looking at Pittsburgh in our sample here, so last 14 days, almost 25.5% K percentage, 100 ISO, 72% weighted runs created plus. Dog shit. That's really, really fucking bad. You look at them in the 30-day sample, they're even worse. So, like, they're not getting, they're not even really improving. So, um, let's go take a look at him in our research sheets, though, just to make sure. So here I got him sorted. You'll see Seth Lugo here against righties, high K percentage, walking some of them. True average is high, expected slugging low, expected batting average low, expected home runs per plate appearance, kind of middle of the pack. Look at him versus lefties here. You have Seth Lugo, 23% K rate. That's fine. Walk rate lowered. True average lowered. Expected slugging kind of high. Expected batting average a little bit higher. Expected home runs per plate appearance, lower also. So really outside of like Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, like, are you really terrified of anybody there? And especially too in a place like Kansas City. So Kansas City is a very, very good hitter's park when the wind is blowing out and it's hot and it's humid. Today, the wind's kind of blowing a little in. The over-under is at 7.5 from Vegas. They're basically telling you that they don't think there's going to be a lot of runs today. So I do really like Seth Lugo. I don't know if I can play him in small field builds, but large field, he's definitely going to be a big target for me. But that's probably where I'm going to land today. I think my pitching pool is going to consist of Hunter Brown, Jose Soriano, Robbie Ray, Seth Lugo, and Jose Soriano. One guy that I wanted to shout out to that I'm going to try to get to, but when I looked at some pitch mix stuff, I was a little concerned, is Yuri Perez. So Yuri Perez down here at 6K. Where is he? Yep, 6K, Yuri Perez. We have him projected as an extreme value at 6K. I have no issue with clicking Yuri Perez today. I will say it is a really, really bad ballpark for pitching. It is going to be hot. The wind is, I don't even know if it's blowing out really, but let me see. No, it's very minutely blowing out, a 9 total. It's going to be 89 degrees at first pitch, decent humidity. He's a lot riskier than people think, but if this game was in Miami, I would probably have a bunch of them. So that's what I'll say there. So, all right. So that's my pitching pool for today. Hunter Brown, Soriano, Ray, Seth Lugo, Yuri Perez, and I might throw in some Sonny Gray just to maybe get a little nice with it. One guy that I wanted to call out that I think is a pretty good play that I'm not going to play, but you guys can, is really Will Warren. A lot of his pitch mix stuff does look really well here. Looks good. Just to break that down for you a little bit more, the pitches he throws to lefties, like, when you got guys like Rivas, Canzone, Young, as guys who profile well, and you have guys like Cal Riley who you could play him against anybody, but like it's just not his type of pitcher, really. I kind of think you can avoid them, and I think he has some upside. From the right-hand side, it's really just Randy. And if you want to play, Dylan Moore, I don't even know if he's in the lineup. I haven't even looked. But I do think Will Warren is fine today. I just don't know if I'm going to play him. And also, that game may not play here in New York. We got a flash flood warning starting at like 6:30 today. It's supposed to be severe thunderstorms overnight, and they literally can't tell when it starts. So I don't know. I'm not going to play him, but it's something to just consider. I do think he's all right. Tyler Myers, Soriano smashing coming. Fuck yeah, absolutely. Ryan, shout out Jason O, some of the best insight in the sports. Well, you have the best dong detector in the sport, my man. Ryan Kings for everybody. Anthony Filio, why is Logan Gilbert drawing interest in a game with a 9 total versus the Yankees team that can hit at times in a hitter-friendly park? My guess is just because of, who Logan Gilbert is and his results. I mean, 9,500 Logan Gilbert, we were kind of questioning if we should play that guy in, worse matchups. And he was chalk against Kansas City. He did middling. He was 9,500. They didn't move his price here, and it's a much worse matchup. Against Seattle, didn't do great at 10K. The one before that, the Cubs, okay, Wrigley wind blowing out, fine. And then, he did shove against Boston a little bit when he was 9,700. I don't know. I really don't know why he's chalk. I'm just not really going to touch him. It's just not something I'm into tonight. There's just so many pitching options. It's like, why are you going to go pick on the Yankees? Let me go rerun this too and just see if James's update has come through. Yeah, it came through, and yep, Robbie Ray up there a little bit more now. Pavetta dipped a little bit. Logan Gilbert still up there. You have Soriano. You have Seth Lugo still. You have Evaldi dropping. Bassett went up there. If you want to play Bassett tonight, you can. I think it's going to be okay, with the weather. I just don't know, man. Like, with a guy like Chris Bassett, he's just so Jekyll and Hyde for this slate. I think Chris Bassett at 8,300 is a good tournament play in large field, but I'm not going to touch him. And in small field, I don't advise you to do that either. All right, let's go take a look at some offenses now. So let me rerun this. So offenses, I got some pretty, I don't know if they're going to be the hottest takes in the world, but I got some pretty strong leans tonight. So first off, we have this sorted by 8 runs plus today. We have Shota Imanaga, going up against the Minnesota Twins. I think everybody should definitely have some shares of Minnesota tonight. I understand that they have not been as good as people want them to be. They've been a little disappointing, but I do want to show you a few reasons why. So number one, in the sample, the last 14 days, Minnesota, very, very high K rate, which is not, great, but decent ISO, weighted runs created plus, top 5 in baseball. When you look at the last 30 days, they were much worse. ISO stayed the same. K rate, was down. Weighted runs created plus was also down. They're trending in the right direction. That's number one. Number two, when I go look at the weather, I'm going to go take a look at Rono Grider's weather app here. 9.5 total. You have winds blowing out, to right field. We've seen some pretty nice games in Minnesota this year where offense has really exploded. So that's number two. Number three, and this is something that I think more people should do in their free time. I wouldn't do this while you're building, but I'm going to go over to Baseball Savant. So this guy Shota Imanaga here. So these are his numbers. Hard hit rate, not high. Expected slugging 468. That's pretty high. Low K rate. So Dyer Walk, guy who contributes a lot in our Discord, put it really well. He's a good real life pitcher. He's not a great DFS pitcher, but there's a reason why I think tonight he's a good DFS pitcher to really target. So we can go sort by the handedness here. So this is his pitch arsenal that he's throwing to lefties right now. This season, he's throwing a four-seamer 50.5% of the time and a sweeper 37% of the time. So 87, 88% he's to lefties. He's only throwing 2 pitches. When you look at him in 2024, it was very, very much of the same. He had a splitter in there too, and he does throw that to righties. But here, a splitter, if he gets that thrown to you, sure, whatever. But I go look at their lineup today, and I see that they are not putting any lefties out on against him. And even though he is seeing some regression here, let's go take a look at the right side. So from the right side, he's only throwing 2 pitches to righties, a four-seamer and a split finger. His expected slugging, his slugging on a four-seamer is 724. Expected slugging is supposed to be 707. That's dog shit, man. It's going to get tattooed. And split finger, his slugging is 256, expected slugging closer to 4, meaning he's going to have some games where he gives up a 500, 600, slugging performance to that split finger to the right side of the plate. So the thing that we could do to make that actionable. So here in Baseball Savant, you can go to leaderboards and swing path attack angle. This is one of my favorite things I like to do because I want to know truthfully which guys are really adept to handling that arsenal. Baseball is one of the only sports where, you could throw 2 lefties out there against the best left-handed hitting team in baseball, and half the team may not be able to hit one of the guy's pitches. So I'm going to go and select the Twins here. He's a lefty, he's a righty. Pitch type, let's go take a look at fastballs first. So I could toggle league average here. So the league average attack angle, they have the attack angle of the league 56% of the time. When I go sort by competitive swings, Willie Castro, not a great fit against the fastball. Bader, not great. France, not great. Buxton, tremendous. Brooks Lee, middling. Jonah Bride, he's not in the lineup, doesn't matter. Royce Lewis, Very, very good. Very good hitter against that. Oh, wow, I have the slider selected too. That's my bad. I actually did that wrong. Let me rerun that. So here against fastballs, so we'll see, Carlos Correa, not great, little below average, but Buxton crushes, Brooks Lee, well above average, Ray Lewis, well above average. So then what you could also do then, and I get that these are very small sample sizes, you could also change if it's hard hit or not. So hard hit against lefty fastballs, competitive swings, the ideal attack angle. So when people square up fastballs, they tend to hit them, pretty much on the money. Buxton is close. Brooks Lee is close. Royce Lewis is up there too, even though he's having a bad year. Carlos Correa. So all of them are kind of get into that above 51, 52% there when fastballs are hit. So now let me go take a look at a splitter, because that's the other pitch he throws a lot, and it's supposed to regress pretty significantly. So, all right, had the hard hit it. No. Hard hit, any, left, right. So Willie Castro is the only person this year who has seen it, but his ideal attack swing makes a lot of sense. You can see here with his swing pad tilt, he's got a very, very steep swing. That's show. Oh, we can't get Willie Castro? Damn. But swing pad tilt, 27%. The MLB average is 32. You can see in this graphic. He's got a low swing. He's got a very, very low swing. I personally think he's probably pretty primed to hit that splitter. So going and taking a look also now at Shota Imanaga here, just where it lands. So against right-handed batters, you can see these different pitch marks here, right? So he's hitting his four-seamer is like completely in the middle of the plate, slightly up. His split finger is getting down, but it's also hanging in the middle of the plate. So when you look at these guys that have some, really flat swing paths, and, I'm going to populate the whole team just so you can kind of see them. So Willie Castro against lefties, 32%, Correa 32%, Buxton 33. You have Ty France 35, Royce Lewis 29. You have all these guys here that are equipped around the similar swing paths that can really take off against him. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's something really cool you could take a look at. But that's why I like Minnesota today. I also, just them being in that sort of environment, it's one of the better hitting environments on the slate. So just something to really consider. Going back to other offenses here, Atlanta, if I need to tell you to play the Braves tonight, I don't know what to tell you. I think they're great against Springs. I also like the athletic side of that game as well. They're a little bit more expensive, and I think that's probably why they're, a third as owned, but love them today. Cubs, I like that a lot too. Cubs today, they are very, very expensive. I'm going to reserve them for minis only, but Michael Busch and Dansby Swanson do profile extremely well against Simeon Woods Richardson. And then we also do have somebody, you also have Seiya Suzuki, who just can hit anything, right? So I really, really like the Cubs today. Houston going up against Cantillo and the Guardians. Like, if you want to do that, you can, sure. I don't know if I'm going to do that just with all the other offense we have in good spots. Boston, I think Boston is a fantastic play today against Kyle Freeland. A lot of these guys hit his pitches really, really well, especially Wire Abreu. So the research I did earlier today, anything Wire, he throws, Willier Wire, I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name. Oh, he's not even in the lineup? Oh, fuck Cora, man. He sucks. God damn it. Fuck. Okay. Excuse my language, but that sucks. But all right. Other guys who profile really well here, Rafaela, Ref Snyder. It's nice to see that Rafaela finally hits enough home runs to not have to bat ninth anymore. This guy's an absolute idiot. Ref Snyder, Romy will crush his off-speed pitches. Trevor Story will crush his off-speed pitches. But Ref Snyder and Narvaez are really adept to hit his fastball very well. From the left side of the plate for him too, Roman Anthony profiles very, very well, and Jaron Duran actually has a pretty good lefty matchup today. So I think you gotta play some Boston tonight. Outside of that, though, we have some other offenses here. The Yankees against Logan Gilbert. If you want to pay those prices against a good pitcher, be my guest. I'm not going to do that. Minis only. Miami against Nick Martinez. I actually looked into some pitch hit mix before for Nick Martinez, and believe it or not, none of the lefties on Miami really hit his stuff well. They do have power though, so like Jesus Sanchez and Stowers, Hicks, you can play these guys if you want to. They're totally fine. But from a matchup perspective, it's really not fantastic. And from the right side, you know, Ramirez and Myers can hit a lot of his off-speed pitch, but if he just throws that cutter that he throws 60% of the time to righties, not many of them can hit it. Really, Heriberto and Norby, that's really it. So I'm not going to play any Miami today. Toronto, if you think that game plays, yeah, against CVAL, just lock and load. Nothing wrong with that. Milwaukee against Clayton Kershaw, sure, if you want to do that, you can. You kind of saw what happened last time. Like they got to Yamamoto and then they put up a few more runs against that bullpen, but really nothing fantastic. They are cheap though, so I do like that. There is one team I really have a strong lean on tonight, and they're not super high up on the sheets, but honestly, I don't care. And that is the St. Louis Cardinals. So everything I looked at today with the St. Louis Cardinals, they put out arguably probably the best lineup they ever could have put out against a guy like Jake Irvin. These lefties specifically are going to, I think they're really going to crush things that he throws. It's the pitches he throws, man, are not great. Really quick, and then I'm going to go into Sims and answer any questions. Jake Irvin here, 525 expected slugging, not great. Hard to hit, 48%. That's really bad. That's really bad. You look at him versus lefties here too. This year, he's throwing a four seam 38% of the time, a curveball 38% of the time, and a changeup. When I go look at the Cardinals here, man, and I'm just going to go populate that really quick. He throws a fastball, he throws a curveball, and he throws a changeup. And we'll take a look at the curveball and fastball first. So we have the league average here, 48%. Competitive swings, this is a pretty big sample size. Every single lefty in their lineup today has an above average, besides Brendan Donovan, has an above average swing path matchup against Jake Irvin. And also, too, in St. Louis, where the wind is blowing out a little bit. I don't love the total at 8, but it's going to be really humid. 75% humidity at 8 p.m. EST. That's pretty wild. So, and even when we go look at that changeup, like let's just go isolate the changeup and see. You look at the changeup here, 55% attack angle is normal. You see Nolan Gorman right on that line, Burleson above, Scott above, Donovan on that line, Lars slightly below. So I really like the lineup that they put out for them today. And just to show everybody that over on Draftkings. So this is the lineup they put out today. Brendan Donovan, you have Wynn, Burleson, Contreras, Gorman, Sagres, Lars, and Victor Scott. So they put it in a spot where you're not going to take all of them in a row, but it's not a bad idea to mix and match. And especially, too, when you look here, Jake Irvin, that four seam is supposed to be getting hit twice as hard. He's got a slugging of he's given up a 333 slugging, should be getting up a 579. His curveball is a 662 and should be getting slightly worse. His changeup should be getting slightly worse. So I love these lefties today from St. Louis. Against the right side of the plate, he switches up his arsenal a little bit. He throws a sinker, a curveball, and a four-seamer. Usually exclusively a sinker curveball combo, but he's actually increased that four-seamer. Expected slugging, it's supposed to increase a lot for the sinker, a little bit for the curveball, and he's supposed to stay the same, get slightly better with his four-seam. So even when I go look at the Cardinals here in that sense, so four-seam, sinker, and he throws his curveball. So even the righties today, league average 50% swing path, competitive swing. Contreras not great, Wynn not great. Arenado is not in the lineup. Yeah, the righties, he actually has a decent spot here, decent matchup. So I like the lefties a lot. I think that they make a pretty good stack there. They also don't get pinch hit a ton either. I know sometimes they're in the past that they would do that, but outside of who's got the pinch hit a lot? Actually, believe it or not, I think I think their catcher, Pedro Paz, is probably the guy that hits pitch hit the most. So something to really consider here. I just really like that offense. So for me today, my offenses, I'm going to have a ton of Minnesota, ton of Atlanta Athletics. I'm going to take Cubs minis. I'm going to play a lot of Boston. I'm going to play a lot of St. Louis. And outside of that, I'm just going to see what else fits here. Maybe I'll go grab some Houston. I don't think I really want Colorado. Oh, I should mention too, Bello's fine in any format. He's just too cheap. In large field tournaments, I think you could fade him just because he's not a high K guy. But just want to throw that out there. But outside of that, that's where I'm going to be going. So before I go look at Sims, let's go look at some questions. Sub that reaction, they bray you out of the lineup alone. Thank you, man. There's more where that came from. Just coming to the Discord. Ryan Kings and everybody else can attest to that. Tyler Myers, don't tell me the Braves, Jason. Sorry, Team Myers. We got to make it happen. And Clay Davis, how would you build for a 121 single entry contest? That's a really, really good question. We'll look at that in a second. Boston rain out. I mean, did we get that game is rained out tonight? Unless you're just talking about the weather there. I mean, no, the risk has been lowered. Roth has it as a yellow faster storm timing has lowered the risk. Probably a chance of a delay. So if you don't want to roll pitchers, that's fine. But I really think hitters are fine here. But if somebody is more boots on the ground, has a better idea, sure, just let us know. All right, so let's take a look at how to build for a 121 single entry contest. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I'm doing that over at Paydirt DFS, is I'm going to go to our range of outcomes here, and I'm going to click optimals. So here we have optimals where you can see basically where cash game lineups are getting the start of their build. Because in a small entry contest like that, 500 people, you only have one bullet. You want to take on some chalk because it lowers your volatility. The outcomes of a very, very chalky pitcher that 60% of the field has versus, that guy failing is almost, if you have him and he fails, if you have somebody at a similar salary or even a lower salary that does okay for their salary, it doesn't really gain you that much, because if they smash at that ownership and you don't have him, you are so dead in the water. So looking at optimals here, so it looks like people are going to start their builds with Brian Buxton, Nick Kurtz, Soriano as a pitcher, could be Gray. So this is one thing I like to do. You can look at the seed frame frequency here, and you will see the percentage of how many lineups it makes. Here I put a 500 lineup sample. If you want to make it 1,000, you can too. And here, Buxton, Kurtz, Soriano, Romy Gonzalez. So your cash core is going to be starting here in some shape or form. So something to really think about there. Another thing that you can do is you can go to our contest simulations here. I had this set up. Actually, I'll do a new tab because I have it set up for large field already. So you want to run it on small field because it's a 500 person contest. Anything under 1,000, I put as small. Anything over like a $40 buy-in, I usually put as very, just because sharps in multi-entry formats can enter thousands of dollars into that contest. Like it's a heavyweight field. So you run the contest sims, and you see here that from an exposure standpoint, starting pitchers, Jose Soriano, Sonny Gray, Bello, and Yuri Perez. When we go sort by edge, though, you see Brian Bello has a negative edge. Jose Soriano has a very high edge. So does Sonny Gray. And Yuri Perez has a high one, too. Ownership in these contests, Hunter Brown, Robbie Ray. Hunter Brown is pretty negative leverage. So is Brian Bello. But Brian Bello is a little less. So me personally, and you have Robbie Ray, too, in small field today, what I'm doing is I'm starting with a combination of one of either Hunter Brown, Robbie Ray, or Sonny Gray, and then I'm pairing them with either Jose Soriano or Brian Bello. That's what you're doing in the 121. If you want to take on a very chalky offense, I would suggest going the Bello route with Robbie Ray, or sorry, I apologize, Soriano and Robbie Ray, or Soriano Gray, Soriano Brown. If you don't want to play a chalky offense, I would suggest just eating Bello with one of those other two at the high end. So, Gray, Brown, and or Ray. When we look at offenses here, Minnesota shows up a ton. You have Boston and the Athletics. So here, I'm going to have a little bit of a different opinion than some other people in this industry because People love to play chalky offenses. They feel like if the highest owned offense doesn't go off, they're going to miss out. You go look at the offenses here, and you see Atlanta is like head and shoulders above everybody. If you basically fade Atlanta, you could almost do really whatever it is you want to do. So I wouldn't get too caught up on the ownership of an offense today. If you think that they're in a good spot, play them. Me personally, I would probably lean in the camp of taking Soriano, one of those other pitchers, then Bello, and then playing some form of Atlanta, Boston, maybe Atlanta Athletics if you can make that happen, Atlanta, Minnesota if you can make that happen, um, Atlanta, St. Louis. That's probably where I would start today. And if you don't want to play Atlanta, I would start with either Boston, the Athletics, or Minnesota. So that's what I would do for today. Last thing I'm going to look at, and then I definitely want to throw it to everybody for any questions they have, is I'm going to go take a look at our large field sims. So for people like me who are playing the 20 entry max today, $4, you're playing the flagship, you're playing anything, 3,000 people or more. Let's go take a look at that. That's running right now. And actually, while that runs really quickly, our Masters matchup table here, Boston in just in a nut spot, Chicago in a good spot. Minnesota has not been great. They've been a fantasy sieve, so I think that makes sense. You have Houston there. That's interesting. I'm going to have to look into them a little bit more and see if they're worth exploring. Toronto, no surprise there against Chicago. And you have Washington against St. Louis. They're not K'ing a lot, so maybe if they get to Gray, sure. But, Milwaukee against LAD. So if you had no projection source, you had no way to look up anything, I would start building off of this too. But yeah, to me, Boston and Atlanta are just really tough to get away from. So going and looking at our large field sims, they're going to look similar to the small field, but maybe slightly different. So here you have Soriano. Gray is much more profound, shows up a lot more here. Brian Bello, about the same. Yuri Perez, a little bit more. And then you have negative edge, Hunter Brown, Robbie Ray, Eovaldi, Brian Bello. The biggest edge is Soriano, Gray, Yuri Perez. So from a large field standpoint, I kind of think it's a little, I don't want to call it tough to play Hunter Brown or Robbie Ray because you could definitely do that. And more than enough times in baseball, people try to find like the cute SP2 pay down or go double pay down to really pay off, the high end bats. Me personally, I don't really, people may have a different experience. I doubt it because we all play a lot of the same stuff. I just don't really see expensive stacks really win that often just because there's a lot more that needs to happen and they need other spots to really fail for them to pay off. So I probably do lean in the camp of keeping Robbie Ray and Hunter Brown in my pool, even after seeing this. But I definitely want to play Soriano. I'm going to play some Gray. I might regret that, but I'm going to play some Gray. Definitely going to play some Yuri Perez here too. So something to think about. Team exposures, Minnesota, Boston, the Athletics, Miami, and Atlanta. I have no issue with any of these here. Miami's the only one I don't love, but that's okay. They can score all the runs in the world and sink my ship. That's fine. And St. Louis. So my thoughts were confirmed already here. Minnesota, Boston, the Athletics, Atlanta, St. Louis. That's probably where I'm going to, rest my head today. And I'm also going to I'm going to take a look at Houston. I'm going to take a look at Milwaukee. They're showing up a lot more. And I'm going to just see where else I can pick off any minis. So last thing I'll say, and then I'll throw it for anybody else for any questions. When you are picking lineups to be your main stack, it's ultra important. And I don't think people really do this enough. I think people just like X out teams a little too easily in MLB. When I was using an optimizer, I wouldn't get rid of any batters whatsoever. Unless I really wanted to take a hard stand, I wouldn't really touch it. There's a mini, a one-off can really win you a tournament. And if you don't get exposure to it, it can kill you. I'm not saying that you have to go play, the White Sox against Toronto today in Bassett. That's not what I'm saying. But if they make something you like fit, and it fits in your contest and can propel you up the ladder to first place, you should absolutely consider it. So basically what I'm getting at is, I like to pick a core of main stacks, but I am much more liberal and free with my mini stacks for sure. All right, let's get to some questions. Clay Davis, thanks for sharing your process. Anytime, man, anytime. Thanks for tuning in. Red Yoda, hear you the best. Red Yoda, my girl. Okay, everybody's got to know. Red Yoda, don't let her fool you. She is not a casual. She has won, $4,000 to $5,000 over the last 2 weeks playing MLB DFS. Low key, probably the sharpest person in here. I'm just saying. So, shout out to her. Double J, any favorite batters on the Cubs? Oh yeah, Michael Busch and Dansby Swanson. I, I, it's crazy to me to like even think that they're not gonna. I want to choose my words carefully because it's baseball. Like anything can happen. I don't want to make a promise here, but I really, really like those two today, and let me show you why. So Simeon Woods Richardson, similar to his counterpart, Shota Imanaga, to lefties, he throws one pitch 50% of the time. He does throw a slider, he does throw a curveball, he does throw a changeup. But when I go and take a look at the Cubs, and let's just talk about just fastballs, like just fastballs alone. Ideal attack angle, 52.8%. Michael Busch, look at that. Large sample size, pretty insane. Reese McGuire, too. And Reese McGuire is not in the lineup, so that's pretty annoying. But Carson Kelly is still Carson Kelly. So that's the first thing. When I go and add in all the other pitches too, so his slider, his curveball, his changeup, he's throwing them not as much as some of the other pitches that he has. Other than his fastball, but he's throwing them enough where like you gotta like pay attention to it. And also too, he may come in with a different game plan. He may come in and just want to, I don't know. He may just want to switch it up a little bit. What am I missing? Missing the changeup. So because clearly his fastball is like not working for him. So ideal attack angle here too. 51.3% of the league has the right attack angle. You have Michael Busch, who really is just going to crush the fastball, but he's going to throw that probably a little bit more. You do have Kyle Tucker, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong that start to get a little bit better. They're not terribly great against fastballs. Actually, I think Ian Happ might even be good against fastballs. I might have missed him. Yeah, Ian Happ's like right on the line. So that is what it is. From the right side of the plate, though, just to show you Simeon Woods Richardson here, he throws a four seam 42% of the time and a slider 36% of the time, and he does throw a curveball. So I'm going to isolate just those four seamers and sliders here. So here, pitch, just so everybody knows, 2, pitch and handedness. He's a righty. He throws a fastball and he throws a slider. So let's go take a look at the Cubs here with that. League average, 51%. Competitive swings, Dansby Swanson. Yeah, way above average. He's pulling the ball a whole lot. Attack angle's very good. Seiya Suzuki's right on that line. Matt Shaw's above average. Carson Kelly's right above average. Justin Turner's right above average. Miguel Amaya's not in the game, but that's okay. He's not in, I think he's actually in the IL, but that's okay. And then he also throws a curveball every now and then. So even when we isolate the curveball here, Seiya tattoos it. Dansby can tattoo it. Horner can tattoo it. Matt Shaw can tattoo it. So I really, really like those two. And I guess Seiya Suzuki's probably the third. Busch, Seiya Suzuki, and Swanson. One other thing that I like to look at, and I kind of showed this before. So this is where he's throwing his pitches. When I look at them against lefties, his four-seamer's hanging up in the zone here, and his slider is hitting more the middle of the plate and the outskirts here. Michael Busch is a very good high ball, fastball hitter. So four-seamer here throws it 50% of the time to lefties. It's gonna get hit hard. I don't know what the result's gonna be, but I am a fan of that. This slider here, probably better for somebody like Vinny Pasquantino, who has a little bit more of a slower swing and can catch up to it. And against righties, his four-seamer, he just leaves it right in the middle right here. Like that's where he's going to leave it. So slider here too. Dansby Swanson is notoriously a fantastic, fastball hitter. So I like those three a lot today. But that's a little bit of a look into my process. That's a little bit of a look into where I'm going to go tonight. What questions does anybody have? Feel free to fire away. We got 6:15. All right, we got some time to build. Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, Double J, great breakdown. Thanks, man. Thanks for tuning in, man. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody, for giving this a look. If you haven't already, come check us out at Paydirt DFS. Even if it's for a day, a week, a month, whatever you feel comfortable with, just come see the tools. Come see whatever, come see what we're all about. Come see the Discord as well. We have the best personalities in there. We're cracking jokes, but we're really there to win. We have some really intelligent discussions, and it really is the best fantasy community that I think you're going to find. I know you hear that everywhere, but I promise you, we'll put our money where our mouth is with that. We're well over 500 grand in subscriber winnings this year too. Me, myself, I came in a top 50 last night in the flagship, the $8. I feel like I'm starting to heat up. I want to start contributing to that too. But honestly, I really think we got some good sauce going on here. So come check us out. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Let's go collect some trophies.